Well, hello and welcome back to the latest episode of my Love Machine podcast. Now, so many people are looking to get back into dating again, and to help, there's a brand new app coming out called So Synced. And to tell all my listeners about it, I've got the wonderful Jessica Alderson today, who is one of the founders of this brand new app. So, Jessica, welcome. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you. Feeling really positive. This is a great time for dating right now. Everyone's looking much more seriously than ever, which is why I thought now would be a really, really good time to get you on to talk about what you've been up to. So, can you tell my listeners, please, what your app is all about?
Sure. So our dating app So Synced is an app that matches partners based on their personality types. So essentially it's based on the 16 personalities Myers-Briggs model. Do you know much about that?
I do, and there's one matchmaking agency that I've mentioned before on my podcast who specialise in that. But for my listeners who don't have a clue what that means, can you just explain to them, please?
Sure. So it's the most popular personality test in the world. And essentially each personality type is 4 letters. So you might be INTJ, ESFP, and each letter kind of represents certain personality traits. So the first letter is I versus E, introvert versus extrovert. I think most people know what that involves. Then the second letter is N versus S. N stands for intuitive, S stands for sensor. Intuitives are kind of more focused on the big picture. Sensors more like kind of details and more tangible information. And then you've got F versus T, feeler versus thinker. Feelers make decisions more based on emotions, and thinkers make decisions based more on logic. And then the last letter is P versus J. That's perceiver versus judger. Perceivers kind of like go with the flow a bit more. Don't like to plan too much, and judges are more kind of routine oriented and like to kind of have a plan that they follow. You put all these letters together and then you get one of 16 personality types. And on our app, we put names like with them, so makes it easier to remember. So you might be ENFP, so enthusiastic, or ISTJ, so dependable, that kind of thing.
It's a bit like some sort of code, isn't it? Some secret code. How hard is it to understand if you don't know what it is?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because we, live and breathe it, so it's just really second nature to us. But I guess, yeah, it takes a little bit of time to just kind of remember what the letters mean at first. But I think it also depends, how interested you are in it, right? Like if it's something that you're really interested in, you'll probably pick it up very quickly. If it's something you're less interested in, it might take a little bit longer. Yeah.
I think people have a hard enough job understanding the love languages or understanding the attachment styles. But like you said, if someone's interested in it, and people are interested in this, which is why I've got you on, then they will understand it and they'll get to know. It's quite easy to learn once you know what you're doing. And like you said, the profiles explain this, don't they? They break it down.
Yeah, exactly. And what I'd say is we actually have a lot of people on the app who have never heard of Myers-Briggs before. And you don't have to know about it. You don't have to learn about it yourself for it to be beneficial to you. That's an important point, I think.
So which personality type are you?
I'm an INFP.
Okay. So introverted.
Yeah. Introverted, intuitive. Yeah, definitely focus more on the bigger picture. Feeler, make decisions more based on emotions, and perceiver, kind of more adaptable and go with the flow. And yeah, one thing I'd say is that every person is a mixture of all the letters. No one is purely an introvert or an extrovert or purely a feeler versus a thinker. People use different parts of their personality in different situations. So it's a spectrum, really.
I completely agree. People can change, and it adapts to the situation, doesn't it? And yeah, you can get introverted extroverts, extroverted introverts. It's all a bit complicated, but I think people do need some hand-holding when it comes to making decisions on partners. And traditional apps like Tinder, it's really, really hard to know if someone's a good match for you based on one picture and 2 lines. So I love what you're doing. I want to hear your story, what made you do this. But first of all, do you have to license this from Myers-Briggs, or is it just free to do this?
No, so the personality, so it's not a Myers-Briggs test that we use. It's based on a kind of similar model. And the personality types are just free to use as you like. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So can you tell everyone what made you decide to launch a dating app now?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a story really. So essentially I used to work for an investment bank, and while I was working there in London, I was dating someone who was Australian. He was living in London at the time, and I ended up moving to Australia with him. But after a year, it didn't work out, and at the same time, I was leaving my job. So these kind of two things came to, I guess, like a natural end. Um, and I've been interested in personality types for a long time at that point. And I really then started applying them to relationships. And firstly, my own relationship to kind of better understand why things didn't work out. And, like anything complex, it just helps to have a framework or a kind of model to like put some parameters around things. And then I decided to take a year off and travel. So yeah, and at the time I just thought, just travel and kind of see what happens. But because I'd started at the very beginning of the year kind of reading up about personality types and love, I then just kind of continued that throughout the whole year, and spent like a year kind of doing a deep dive into it really. And at that time I could sometimes guess what personality types people were. If I was like, staying with a couple in like an Airbnb, could kind of like observe how they interacted. Also just, met a lot of people, just travelers, could kind of like talk to them about it. And there's huge like online Myers-Briggs communities. So there's, big Myers-Briggs community on Reddit, Quora, there's like personality type forums. So yeah, kind of just like obsessively read all these things. And yeah, by the end of the year, I mean, it was, purely out of interest at the time, really. And then I got back to London and I was having drinks with my sister Lou, and she was saying that her friends and colleagues were going on these terrible app dates. And I was like, I know a better way of matching people. Just spent the past year kind of doing research on this. And it was shocking how much of a correlation there was between personality types and, I guess, successful relationships. And then, just kind of like what you mentioned about other dating apps, we took a step back and we were like, this feels kind of backwards in a way, that people are just swiping based on photos, when hopefully you'll agree, attraction is usually based on a lot more than that. So that, you kind of take a step back and think, wow, technology has come such a long way, yet people are just swiping based on a photo or two. It just seemed kind of nuts, really. So yeah, like literally next morning after those drinks, we started to build So Synced.
Wow. That's quite a story, isn't it? So you did it with your sister. How do you start building a dating app? What's the first thing you have to do? Once you've got the initial plans in place, then what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, we just did a lot of research, like online, talking to different people, started working with some like contracting developers. And actually for quite a while, we did it alongside our full-time jobs. We like learned a bit of coding, and then we just like, right, there's no way we're going to be able to build an app at least anytime soon. So we essentially, continued working full time and paid developers as contractors.
That must be expensive to do that. So you funded it so far yourselves.
Yeah.
I know that building a dating app is a very, very expensive process. Even if you get developers in other countries that do it cheaply, I know a lot of money can go into this. Because I know you have launched this app, haven't you? And
yes, we have. Yeah.
When did you launch it?
So we launched the first version of it in January 2020. So January last year, and then we rebuilt it and launched the second version early February.
Last year?
This year. Yeah.
This year, okay. So you're ready now for the whole brave new world that's coming, and people are looking for love. It's all exciting times. What has the feedback been so far?
Yeah, I mean, we've just had a response like much better than we could ever have imagined. Like, we now have well over 50,000 users.
Wow.
We have over 400 couples have found a relationship through our app, which is a really high success rate. And with great news, actually. It was literally last night we heard about our second wedding. And it was crazy. Someone just messaged us on Instagram and they were like, oh yeah, by the way, met someone on your app and we got married a while ago. We're like, oh, and it made us wonder how many other people are now married, because, you don't always hear about these stories, right?
You don't. It's incredible. That's amazing. In a year that you've been doing this and you've got these weddings already. I've got some weddings I'm responsible for, introduction to people that I've coached, but they were put on hold due to the whole pandemic. So I need to find out if they are going to be happening or not. There's one of them I was invited to, and I haven't had the invite yet. I wanted to chase them up, but it's a bit too soon, isn't it? So where's my invite? One of your 25 people. Am I on that list still?
Yeah, probably not. That's cool. Like being, one of so few people.
Yeah. Well, I hope so. I hope it still carries on, and they're still very happy. But I need to follow up on these things. But do you know what? Finding love and getting married is a very special thing. So if you have helped people do that, and like you said, how many people haven't told you that they've met somebody, and they have?
Yeah, I know, exactly. So the over 400 number is just ones that we know about as well. So could actually be a lot more than that. But we've had more engagements as well. And someone just moved from Miami to Spain to be with her partner. And we've actually had a lot of people move countries, which is really interesting.
Really, over the last year?
Yeah, over the last year. And I've noticed like quite a lot of them, kind of say on Instagram, like love isn't tourism type thing. And it's really important. Like, obviously it's a pandemic and they all do follow the rules. So quite a lot of them actually dated virtually in different countries until the lockdown measures were eased last summer. And then they were obviously put back in place, but they kind of, have met each other in between and eventually ended up moving countries.
That's amazing. Do you know what? I consider myself to be a key worker. I say this in jest, if anyone's listening, but because I'm a key worker, I find people love. And therefore, what more do you need in life during a pandemic? You need to find love. And therefore, my service should be an essential service. The government should be paying me. They should be paying you to do this, shouldn't they? They should be.
Yeah, completely. It's so important. It's connections, I guess. That's what it's about. Like meaningful connections are more important than ever right now.
They are. Do you find people use the app for friendship as well?
Yeah, people do use the app for friendship. We had, a really nice app review actually a couple of days ago saying, I met my soulmate on this app and most of my close friends. And that's really, really nice. It's I guess like the thing that I'm most proud of about this whole thing is just the community that we have on our app. It's just a really unique and lovely community. And I think like having that kind of personality test automatically means that people who join will be looking for something more than a hookup. And that might not necessarily be like, a really serious long-term relationship, but they're looking for a meaningful connection in some way. And that does include friendship really. And that is, something we're looking to introduce later this year is like a more formal friends feature. Because we have had just a lot of feedback from people saying that they are using the app to meet friends and, they would like to do that in a more, I guess, separate way.
Of course. Well, I think that's a really good thing to do because everyone's looking for friends. Everyone's been a bit lonely over the last pandemic and people are looking to make new connections now. And if you're allowing that on a deeper level, rather than something completely random, then that's going to change lives. I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
Let me ask you some deeper questions about this. And this is not me being negative. This is just general questions. People might have the same questions for you. How much of this is a placebo, do you think, when it comes to people making choices?
Yeah. So you're essentially saying, if you tell someone they have 95% compatibility with someone, then they are more likely to give that a go. Is that the kind of thing?
Have you heard that podcast already? Have you? Okay. Yeah.
Well, no. Yeah. It's a good point. And I mean, I'd say two things about this. That firstly, there undoubtedly is an element of that. That's, just human nature. If I put two people in front of you and say, we've got 99% compatibility with this person, 50% with this person, you're probably going to want to talk to a person with a higher percentage compatibility. But I would say what is really interesting is the good personality matches end up together like no matter what, like whether they meet on our app or whether they meet not on the app essentially, and don't even know their personality type. So we have a podcast called Personality Love Lab, and we interview couples of different personality types. And like particularly, I guess, before we had lots of success stories when we were just starting out, we just interviewed couples, all sorts of couples, and most of them hadn't met on the app. And it was really interesting because, the vast majority of them were really good personality matches, because it works essentially. And we had people message us and say, oh, I keep noticing that you're interviewing these people who are just really good personality matches. Can you, like, why is that? Or can you interview some not so great personality matches? And I'm like, well, they're actually really hard to find. This isn't us, cherry picking to kind of like make our matching theory look like it works. It actually does work.
That is such a good answer, Jessica. You've answered that so well. You've convinced me now. I've been doing this 16 years. Because I do believe there is some element of placebo going on in any type of personality test for dating. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Because if someone thinks they're a good match, they're more likely to take things seriously. And I know, I'm not going to name any sites, but there's a famous website that deals with this. And they aren't allowed to advertise the fact that the test is supposedly scientifically guaranteed to find you a match anymore, which interests me because I think it does also eliminate a lot of time wasters by having to complete this and to do. How much of a personality test do people have to do when they first join? How long does it take?
Yeah, so we've measured this and it's around 5 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's we tested it genuinely for just a long time before we launched the app, to obviously make it as accurate as possible. And yeah, it's kind of, I guess it's long enough to actually work out someone's personality type, but not too long that it's completely overwhelming, because that can be the case, right?
It can be, but I think the longer the test, the more likely it will eliminate scammers and time wasters. Well, that used to be the case actually, but now scammers have got through this. They've learned ways of getting through these tests a lot quicker using bots now. But we won't go into that one because I'm sure that you don't want to hear that right now, do you? But I'm sure that you have good systems in place to test this. Scammers probably can't work this out, I imagine, anyway. They're not going to understand how this works.
It stays like that.
I'm sure it will do. You have to have some degree of intelligence in order to use this. And I think your app will attract intelligent people, because people that have got an interest in deeper relationships and deeper connections are more likely to use this than those looking for quick hookups. So the next question is, I was telling you what I think. I think people can be attracted to opposites just as easily as they can to someone that's the same as them. How would that work on your app? What do you think about that?
Yeah, so I guess similar to you, really, in the sense that we pair couples who have certain similarities, so they form a strong connection, and then certain differences, so they create that spark. Because either extreme, I think, it's not ideal, in the sense that if you're so similar to someone, it can be like a little bit boring, and you don't really push each other to grow, and you don't really have a spark because it's not that exciting because they're not that different to you. But if they're so different, then it can just be really hard to be on the same wavelength and to form a strong connection. So we kind of get that spot in the middle of the two.
That's good. That's what you need, really, isn't it? Something in between.
So, yeah, is that what you would say from your experience?
Absolutely, it really is. But then I think personality is only part of the whole thing. I think values are very, very important, and shared goals and interests, but they're all part of a bigger picture. And most apps don't cater for any of these things at all. They don't. You don't go onto Bumble and say, what are your values, and base it on that. You think, are they fit in the picture? That's all you do, really. So with that in mind, with your pictures that you have, how important are the pictures still?
Yeah, I mean, we think that they are important. And yeah, a couple of reasons, really. So firstly, I actually think you can tell quite a lot about someone's personality from pictures. Say they're in a picture, or they have a picture of, and they're doing a sport that you absolutely love, or they're sitting on a beach reading quietly. You kind of just get vibes from pictures. So I think it does play into personality. And then the other point I'd say on that is, we do think that physical attraction does play a role as well. It would be be lovely to say it didn't, but I just don't think that's realistic. And also for some people more than others, you know, for some people, physical attraction might be a massive part of it. And then for others, it might be, you know, genuinely doesn't matter at all. But I think it definitely is useful to have pictures.
I think so. I think you have to be able to have some good pictures. Most people don't know how to take good pictures, but that's a whole different podcast episode. I think because I've covered that a lot, and I'll be doing more of them. I teach a lot of people how to take pictures successfully, because if you've got a terrible picture, it doesn't matter how good your personality test is or how good your profile is, people are going to overlook it, aren't they? And they're going to swipe away.
What do you think is the main mistake with pictures?
Not smiling, first of all. Looking miserable, looking like someone that's going to be really, really hard work on a date. What do you think?
No, I think that's probably a good one, actually, is I guess, you know, if someone's smiling, they're kind of, you just get a more welcoming and open vibe. And if someone isn't smiling, it can be a bit more kind of scary, you know, to approach them.
It's intense. People look at really scowling, miserable, looking away, looking into the distance, wearing sunglasses, and you can't feel that connection with that person. You have to reach out in the same way of headshots. I used to be an actor. You don't have a headshot where you're looking away or looking up or looking down or looking really moody, unless you want to go for a moody part, of course. But generally, if you want to connect with people, you look and you smile, you look into the camera and you try and reach that person. So your soulmate will think, wow, that person looks amazing. I can't wait to meet them. They look great fun. But I think many in particular get this wrong. They don't know how to take a good picture. And there's reasons for this. I think men don't take as many pictures as women do, particularly on their phones. They don't take selfies all the time. Women tend to do that. Women have a bigger social circle of friends, particularly younger ones. And then they can talk to each other and get feedback and go out with their friends. Men, as I always say, tend to be more lone wolves. And for that reason, they struggle with this. But the good thing is that for guys over 40, dating does become a lot easier because there's less decent guys out there. What are your thoughts on that?
So essentially, are you saying that there's less competition for men over 40?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yes. I don't really know. So I'm 30 now, so it's probably one for me to work out in the future, really.
You're much too young to understand that. At the moment, you've probably got all the guys chasing you, but that dynamic does change as you get older. So make the most of it now. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah, exactly. I should.
What age group does your app cater for?
Yeah, so it's kind of late 20s, early 30s on the whole. But we do have, pretty big range of ages. But it's, I guess because it's geared towards people looking for something a bit more meaningful. It's, that's slightly kind of older age group, not kind of, literally 18, I guess.
I think 18-year-olds have a whole different dating life than those in their 30s, 40s and upwards. But they don't really need these apps for that purpose. They're not really looking, here's my personality type, I'm going to meet some with them. It's, can I get drunk and have fun with them? That's what it tends to be.
Exactly.
And then it should be.
Although saying that, actually, personality types are really popular with kind of people at university, that kind of age. So we do have a relatively large portion of our user base of that kind of demographic.
I think people are becoming much more serious younger than they were before, because people are finding it harder to meet partners. Even though we've got more and more apps coming out, it's harder because people work remotely. People, particularly now, work, they don't go out as much, they can't afford to go out as much. So people are looking onto these apps, and the apps are really, really hard work. There's so many different apps out there, and they all cater for different things. But I think yours is quite unique in the fact that it is matching on personality types. I worked with one once. It never actually got released, but it was based on positivity, and it was based on Napoleon Hill. Have you heard of Napoleon Hill?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, it was all based on that, and the questions you have to be asked were based on that, and how the mind will, law of attraction and things like that used to come together. And it's such a shame it never actually got launched, because it was an amazing thing. And I worked with them, and I got paid quite a bit actually to write the questions at the start that they were going to be judged on. And maybe one day it'll get released. So I've just promoted it there, and I forgot what it was called. But back onto yours now, so synced. So you funded this all yourself, and you've gotten to this stage. So what's next for you?
Yeah, so I mean, we recently closed a funding round of $1 million, which was really exciting.
You didn't tell me that part of it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's a big one as well. So Yeah, that's incredible, really. That completely changes things for us in the sense that, we were really doing everything on a shoestring budget. We really didn't have a proper marketing budget, to be honest. Like, a lot of our growth has been organic. So yeah, just really excited to, I guess, kind of make improvements to the app, like add kind of certain features, add a membership package, add the kind of friends platform within the app. And I mean, main thing is to grow the user base, because, as I'm sure you know better than anyone, a lot of value from a dating app is having more users on there. So yeah, just really exciting. Hopefully lots more weddings and success stories, and I guess, yeah, positive things coming from it.
Is it mainly UK based at the moment?
It's actually mainly US based.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, so Myers-Briggs is much more well known in the US compared to the UK. Yeah. So just naturally, we've seen a lot more people sign up in the US. And yeah, our first target city is New York.
Is that so you can go over there?
Yeah, partly. I do really love New York.
Me too. That's what I was thinking. I want to do some events over there when I can. And I'm thinking New York, Vegas, they're two places I want to go, do some seminars, do some events. But unfortunately, I haven't got the freedom to do that because I've got little kids and a family. And it'll be a long time before I can actually go away and do that. But everyone that tells me they want to go and launch in New York is because they want to go over there and just have a little bit of fun and explore. And why not? Why not? You're 30 years old with $1 million business. Go and do what you want while you can.
Yeah, I know. It's there are other reasons too. It makes sense strategically, but yes. No, I am just really excited about going there, and I just love it so much. It's such a fun city, right?
It is. It's where all the dating starts in America. That's what everyone follows. It's what the UK follows, is New York. We're about 5 years behind America in general, but New York is the hub of dating. In the same way that London is the hub of dating for the UK. That's where the most people are going out, and they're more intense and doing new things. And there's a lot of startups. So there's startups all over America in certain parts, obviously. But I know that in New York, it's down to Sex in the City, I think, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, you totally get that vibe, right? And I think from what I understand and from what, my friends have told me, dating is quite different in New York. Compared to London. I don't know if you think that too, but from things I've heard, it's a bit more like, people will date lots of people at one time. And I don't know if this is something that you recommend, but they will date, say like a handful of people, and those people won't expect to be exclusive with that person. Whereas in London, I think, maybe after 2-3 dates, people kind of expect unspoken exclusivity a bit more.
They used to, but I think we are getting the New York way, and it's called domino dating. So people have lots of dominoes lined up, just in case one of them falls down, they've got other ones and other backups. And I believe that's fine if you're starting out dating again, to go and have other options, but not too many of them, because some people put all their hopes on one person too early on. They get needy, they get too attached to them, and then things don't work out, they rush into things. So it's always good to have other options. And that's true whether you meet them in real life, on an app, from an event. Have other options. Don't put your eggs in one basket, because people are very changeable. But I do think that you can get too far, because after maybe 3 or 4 dates, you've had the conversation that you like each other. But even that conversation, people aren't having that as much as they used to. People are going into what I call situationships now, where they are just perfectly happy spending time together as and when. One of them likes the other one a bit more than the other, but they won't tell them this. So they stay in the wrong relationships because they think the other person is going to suddenly change their mind and agree to be serious. But what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that probably does happen quite a lot. And yeah, I guess it's hard to kind of say what is right and what's wrong, because each situation is so different, right? But I guess, you do want to, or in a kind of ideal relationship, or kind of, if you're dating someone, you do want it to be fairly even with how much you like them and how much they like you, and I guess how much you're investing in them and vice versa. But yeah, I think people now are a bit like scared to be like, oh, I really like this person, and kind of like scare them off maybe.
Everyone's too scared. I think everyone's scared of being rejected. Even the most confident people out there don't want to be told they're not good enough or be rejected when they like somebody. So everyone's afraid to make a move in the first place. Guys in particular are afraid to go and chat women up in real life anymore because they might get embarrassed or they might get doors slammed in their face or be told off if they open the door for somebody. But that's another conversation. And women, I think women are often looking for high power guys that don't really exist. That's what I find. But that's another story again, because I think this is about positivity. And my podcast is mainly about positivity, because I think we have the power to help so many people in what we do. Not just us, but anyone in this industry. And we are very fortunate to be able to do that. And with that comes responsibility. Or is that Batman says that? I'm not sure. It's either Batman or Spider-Man. With great power comes responsibility. And I think it's important that we try and keep people positive, because there's an awful lot of negativity when it comes to dating and a lot of misinformation. And people are just doing it wrong, really. And people date wrong. And I have clients 20s, 30s, up to 80s at the moment. And they all have a bad experience from dating because they've been messed around by people or not sure what the rules are. And the rules are always changing and evolving. But this is why I think if you've got a personality-based app, it's much more beneficial, because people are going to be more serious. Anyone that is just a time waster is not going to sign up to this, are they?
No, exactly. Yeah. You know, like I said, that kind of personality test just automatically kind of makes sure that people who are on the app are on a similar page.
There's a lot of people out there that would love this. I know they are. But have you managed to use it yourself successfully?
Yeah. So I think most...
I bet everyone asked you that question. I had to throw it towards the end, didn't I?
Yeah. I think most dating app founders do create their perfect app. And that is exactly what I've done. But I just find it a bit strange to use, because I see it as a product, you know, like this is work. It's like when I look at the app, it is like looking at work. So I don't use it myself, just because I can't really detach from it in that kind of work sense. Because I'm just thinking about like, oh, like we could put this button here, or like, you know, move this one here. And it's a bit kind of, I can't fully relax when I'm using it, I guess.
Do you find you're more judgmental than you were before?
In what way?
You're looking at profiles and you're thinking, well, he could try changing this around, or she could just do this, and thinking, I want to give this some advice, but I can't really do that. Is that how you feel?
Yeah, I guess a little bit. Yeah, like I've obviously got a lot more experience.
Insights.
Profiles. Yeah, exactly. I've done like a lot of research. And that's actually something we want to do a bit more. So we publish lots of blog posts, but we're quite keen to kind of publish more dating tips, because I think actually a lot of people do need help. And well, you know, you'll know that for sure, right?
Yes.
It doesn't always come naturally. And I think the point that you made about positivity is so important. It's something that I feel really strongly about as well, is there is quite a lot of negativity and a lot of like fear and nervousness. And I think people would do well on the whole to just be more positive and, I don't know, maybe like a bit more kind of easygoing about it, if you see what I mean.
Kinder maybe, and more relaxed. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And just kind of, you know, have fun, like do fun things in your life. And don't put too much pressure on, I guess, relying on a relationship for happiness.
Yeah, I agree. Everyone's enough on their own. And if you find a partner in life, that's a bonus. Most people do. But it will happen when you start to love yourself and understand yourself a lot more. Is there part of that on the app? Is it a bit more about understanding who you are as a person?
Oh, yeah, 100%. That's, sorry. Say that again. Yeah, 100%. So a lot of the app is about A, understanding yourself, and B, understanding others. And that's something that we really want to, I guess, promote, is acceptance of, I guess, really other people who might be different to yourself, and also your strengths and weaknesses. I think, you know, after looking into personality types, I'm a lot more aware and accepting of my weaknesses. And I think that helps in business. You know, there's some things that I know that I'm just not good at. Fortunately, my sister is almost the opposite personality type to me. So really? We complement each other very well. So yeah, usually the things that I'm bad at, she's good at, and vice versa, which is quite nice, really.
That's how any partnership should be. So
yeah, so Yeah. What's your Myers-Briggs personality type? Do you know?
I looked into it once, but then I didn't really pay a lot of attention to it, if I'm honest. Mm-hmm. Why? What would you say it was? You don't really know me well enough, I presume.
Yeah. I think sometimes you can get a vibe quite quickly, sometimes not. I'd say an extrovert.
Okay, probably.
Yeah. The to be honest, I just wouldn't be able to guess. Yeah, I just haven't, because you've been asking me more of the questions rather than vice versa, so it's quite hard to. But
tell. Then I think there are times when I can be extroverted and there are times I can be introverted, which is funny. I think I like to entertain. I think I like to be the life and soul of a party. But quite often, if it's not my party, I'm happy to sit on a sofa and just chill out and just watch the world go by. So different situations I can change and I can adapt to them. But I think you do have to be an element of, you have to be extroverted to some degree to do what I do. Because I have to talk to a lot of people and I have to get to know them and get their trust quickly. And this comes from my actor training from years ago, but this is all turned back onto me now. I was about to round this off, Jessica, and say thank you very much and to ask what's next for you. You've turned it back on me, but that's probably the whole point of this. That's great. It's a great thing to do because this is what it's about, personality types. And if I can't comment on that, then what value do I bring to this? And this is why I think that's interesting. But then I have dated many people who are extroverts and who are introverts, so it doesn't matter. My wife can be both. She can be introverted and extroverted. It depends on what's going on. But I think I complement her really well. But in the past, I've dated all sorts. And that's what it's about. I think it's being open-minded, but having a guide. And this is helpful to people that can't make decisions and who've got dating fatigue and people that are just sick of dating, because it offers something new. And something new is always what they need for this.
Exactly. And that was our goal, really, is, we saw a lot of people just wasting time on these, dates with people that they really didn't click with. And we're like, surely there is a better way of doing this. So, that's kind of one thing we say is, stop wasting time on bad dates. Actually, connect with people who really get you and who you really click with much sooner, rather than just like taking a stab in the dark and hoping for the best.
This is what I tell people. Life is too short to waste time on the wrong people. Spend time getting to know people that are going to add value and going to match you and be a good lifelong partner for you. In fact, I'm bringing out a course very shortly about online dating and dating apps and how people can use this. And I've got a test group and it's going really, really well. But I am going to be adding SoSynced into my list on there of apps I recommend.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I wasn't sure if I was going to or not until I found out more about you. And now I'm absolutely convinced this is a great option. And I'm going to recommend it in my dating app section, which I'm building this week, funnily enough. Oh, cool. What a coincidence that is, isn't it?
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And like I said, we do have a really high success rate and just a really great bunch of people. So,
Well, I'm excited for what you are going to do. And I think you bring out something unique and it's going to make a big difference. If somebody wants to download this or find out more, how would they do that?
Yeah, so you go to SoSynced, SoSyncd, just type it into your app store. It's available on iOS and Android, or www.sosynced.com. Again, SoSyncd. So we've got lots of resources. You can take the personality test online. You actually don't have to sign up to the app to do the personality test. So if you are interested in taking it again after this, then you can absolutely do that. Got, kind of personality type descriptions, best matches. We've got blog posts about why certain matches are better than others. And kind of also just fun things. We're doing a series at the moment, famous people of each personality type, which lots of people can, quite or relate to in quite a kind of clear way. So that's where you'd find us.
Hopefully my listeners will come and find out more about you and they will download the app and give it a go. It sounds like you've got some really, really big things coming up. And I can't wait to see what you do next. So thank you, Jessica, so much for coming on my podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, it's been a great chat.
Wonderful. And I'll watch what comes next for you. Have a great day.
Cool, you too. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. I'd love to give you a free copy of my latest book, which you can download right now from my website, jamespreece.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, I'd really appreciate it if you could share the love by taking a few seconds to write a positive review on the iTunes store right now. See you next time.